Hello and welcome to Central Georgia Focused. I'm your host today, Liz Fabian with the Murphy Center for Collaborative Journalism. Our guest today is Dr. Dan Sims, the school superintendent of Bibb County Schools. And Dr. Sims, we also have a special feature today. The Channel 13 staff has been doing the junior journalist auditions, so we're going to hear from a few of them today, students in your school system.
All right, that sounds great. Yeah.
Well, school's coming back in session, so what do we need to know? What are the new guidelines and rules for students and parents to be aware of?
Yeah, so guidelines haven't really changed a great deal. It's just a matter of us continuing to reinforce those critical pieces regarding clear book bags. We have our no cell phone policy, and those are in place for the purpose of optimizing safety for our students and optimizing focus for our students inside the classroom. Of course, one of the most important things parents need to know are the start times for our schools. So it's important for them to know what time our middle, high, and elementary schools start, and to have our students there on time. Also on time to catch the buses so that they are able to get a good breakfast if they need one when they get to the school, and have a positive day.
And it's still a staggered start time,
That's correct,
right?
that's correct.
What are the start times?
Oh boy, I knew you'd ask me that question. I want to say 7:30 for our high schools. I think it's 8:30 for our elementary schools, and then 9:05 for our high schools.
All right, and
Yes.
always they can stay in the loop with the soup.
That's right, that's right. So I'm glad you said that. I will continue to ensure that people have good information from me through my podcast and through Facebook Live. It's been great ways. Yeah, we're off to a great start too, so I'm excited about where we are right now.
That's great.
Yeah.
And you're up and at 'em all the time. So,
That's it.
So, okay.
That's it.
Now, how does, you mentioned, getting to schools, getting students to school
Yeah.
on time, but how does truancy also impact student achievement, and how do you plan to address that so that kids can get the most of their education?
I liken it unto somebody going to see a movie, and you're in the popcorn line and the movie's already started. And you come in and you have one group of people who've already started the movie. They know exactly what's happening from the moment it starts. But then here you come late. When students are late to school, when they don't attend school, they miss the movie. They are missing critical instruction from the beginning of school to the end of school. So truancy impacts academics in that they're missing instruction. And you try to account for those gaps in learning that are impacted by a student not being present. It becomes very difficult, and it increases the stress level for a child who now, just like somebody who is coming late to a movie trying to catch up and try to understand what's going on, it is really unfair to the child. So we're really hoping that with this clean slate, that individuals can let us know what barriers, if any, are holding them back from attending school so that we can support them. And if there are no barriers, let's not create barriers to make it a more difficult situation for our students.
And there's a lot of prep that goes into it
Yes.
as well, because a student can be present without really being present mentally if they didn't get enough sleep, or if they're coming to school hungry, or those other issues. So how do we get the kids all ready and raring to go so that when they walk into that classroom, they're alert?
Yes. So I think it's important for everybody's home, and many of us grew up in this same space, to have a routine time for a child to come off of social media and their technology, to turn off the TV, to get in bed, to get those 8 hours of sleep so that the body can get rejuvenated for the next day, to ensure that either they have a great breakfast at the house or at the school. And a great breakfast is not Takis or snacks, but it's a well-balanced breakfast. And you have no idea the impact that has on a student. The other part is the emotional side of having something positive to say to your child before they leave the house. I think it's important for parents to own the opportunity to feed into their child's soul and spirit and to encourage them in that space, and not create arguments or any kind of stressful situation that they now carry to school, and then we put it in our hands and we're trying to manage this issue at home and the issue of getting you educated. So we definitely need help in that space.
And especially middle school students need more sleep than you and I do.
That's right.
And that's something that they really need to pay attention to.
Indeed.
Also, this year's theme is More Victory Plan Together for School Improvement.
Yes.
So what are some of the ways that you plan to implement that?
So the umbrella of the whole idea is that we get ourselves on the same page, that we work together. It takes everybody to make school improvement happen. So as we implement this theme, one of the most important parts is having a good structure in place for our schools. We now have an associate superintendent of schools, and we've revised our structure of school leadership and supports to zero in on the needs of our schools based on a zone approach. So we have zone relationships that are going on in our schools now, and a leadership that is focused in on ensuring that continuous improvement is something that's happening every single day. You'll see an increase in our learning walks, in time spent with our principals, time spent inside schools to support everything that's going on a daily basis, so that when we do data analysis, we can see the impact of the work that's happening from day to day. Another critical piece has to do with ensuring that all of our division and department goals are all in service to the school. One of the things that I always talk about is this idea that we exist, superintendent and anybody else in the organization, we exist to support schools. Transportation, we have buses on time to support schools. Nutritious meals to support schools. Everything supports schools. So one of our big efforts is to ensure that everybody's goals and actions are aligned so that schools truly feel the support. Another thing I always talk about, I often hold my hands up like this in meetings, and the hands simply symbolize all the resources and opportunities and programming that are on one side and the people on the other side. It's this disconnect that we struggle with. So a mammoth effort of ours is what we're calling Recruitment for Excellence, which is under this whole idea of school improvement. And that is that we recruit students primarily and recruit people to connect to the programs and resources and opportunities so that we can maximize the opportunities for positive outcomes for every single student. So we'll be much more intentional in terms of not just expecting the best out of students, but grabbing them and recruiting them and feeding into them and telling them how well they can do. Students are decision makers, but some struggle with making a decision about how much they want to invest themselves in the school experience. So what you'll see this year in terms of school improvement is a much more targeted effort of developing a recruiter's mindset in our adults so that students can feel like I'm tagging you and I'm grabbing you for greatness.
Wow.
Yeah.
That sounds exciting. When you mention the zones, though, I guess there are different needs in the community based on regions. So you're talking geographical regions and addressing them different ways.
Geographical, but the word I would use is feeder, our feeder patterns. So we think about the elementary schools that feed into the middle school, that feed into the high school. We want to increase that relationship and articulation and collaboration among those sets of schools and leaders and teachers and everyone, so that there'll be much more of a seamless approach to how we see a child go from pre-kindergarten all the way up to 12th grade.
I see.
Yeah.
And we have some of your students who have been auditioning as junior journalists.
I'm so glad to hear that,
and we have to hear from Jarvis Smith Jr. when asked about the improvements in the school system. He says, with his opinion, there's lots of things for elementary students to do. So he feels like that they could do some more activities in high school and middle school so that students will be more engaged instead of just clicking on the laptop. Any thoughts?
Wow, first of all, I know Jarvis. He was in the parking lot just the other day and yelled my name, so I'm so glad. Love from Jarvis. He's a great kid. I think that's a great point that he's making. And what we want to make sure is that every student understands the opportunities available to him. Ironically, I interviewed Jarvis last year, and he said some of the same stuff. And what he intimated is there are students who are interested in certain areas, and if they can exhibit that interest and feed that interest at school, it'll add value to the whole school experience. So I agree with him 100%. I think it's important for us just to have some good conversation with our students to see what they want and what they need and how it can add value to the school.
And we'll continue that good conversation about the Bibb County schools when we come back. Welcome back to Central Georgia Focus with Bibb County School Superintendent Dr. Dan Sims. Now, I know we've been hearing a lot about budget shortfalls, and I know that that's the board's decision, but if you had your druthers, how would you address the shortfall?
Yeah, so we did a great job this year at looking at our resources to look for cost cuts. I think we did a fantastic job in that space. One of the things we'll continue to do is in service to that same idea, and to continue, not at the expense of the needs of our schools or this district, because we have to maintain a competitive space in this field of education so that we can attract and retain the best and brightest employees. And we owe it to our schools to have great resources. But we'll look for opportunities to prioritize and subsequently look for cuts. That's an ongoing process. So that's one thing. The second thing has to do with ensuring the power of our general fund is realized. We have a general fund balance. And while there's a budget shortfall, the beauty of a general fund is that it gives you a cushion in terms of a reserve where it can accommodate for some of those shortfalls. And I think our team did a fantastic job this year in looking at the cost cuts, implementing those, but also using a portion of our general fund in that space. Of course, you know, the M word always comes up, millage rate. It's one of those things that we have to talk about. And I definitely understand and respect the concerns of taxpayers in that, you know, inflation is huge. It's hitting the school district in a major way. But one of the things we rely upon as opposed to governments or other entities is that millage rate as it relates to how funding comes to the school district. So we're going to be as fair as we possibly can to the taxpayer, but also to our school system, because I believe the taxpayer also wants a vibrant school system with great employees and great students and great resources and facilities. And that is what helps us to ensure a healthy balance within that budget.
And y'all are looking at possibly consolidating some schools too.
Yes, so school consolidation is on the table as a topic, and we'll engage a project manager this year. I'm glad you mentioned that. And it'll lead us to some school consolidation recommendations to go before the board. And as we think about it, I'm glad you said school consolidation.
Instead of closing.
That's right, because consolidation really is about maximizing resources for students so that when they come to school, back to Jarvis's point, that we have great opportunities and programming, and sometimes consolidation can help you make that happen, where school A may have this and school B may have this. And if we consolidate those two, now school C has all of that. So that'll be a critical part of our lens as we look at school consolidation considerations.
And also, where are we with milestones? I think we've seen some improvement, but then where are the areas that we need more help? So
we definitely see some improvement in our milestone scores. You see positive momentum in students moving from developing learner to proficiency, from proficient to distinguished, and an increase in students in many areas of developing and above learners, which is developing proficient or distinguished. So we're pleased in that space. However, we recognize that, and when you look at our graphs, you still see a good deal of red, and those are our beginning learners. And while we acknowledge the milestones as this one point in time on this one day for this one test per category that students take, it is an indicator of how students are faring relative to the standards of the state. So literacy continues to be at the top of our list, and ensuring that we can get students to on level and ultimately to above level reading status so that they have full access to curriculum every single classroom they go to. But I want to call that out as not just a school priority, but a community priority. So one of the things we'll do more this year is empowering our parents to know what they can do at home, to bring on community members to help us specifically in the space of literacy and other critical academic areas so that they can add value to what we do in the schoolhouse. And
you've also implemented a mental health awearness week.
Yes.
How important is that for the success of students to be able to address those?
We found that post-COVID, mental health is a much more critical topic for our students. We did the week because of students and their call out to ask for an increased focus. So I would say it is of critical importance to attend to the mental health and awareness of our students, because that shows up in the classroom. It shows up, I would argue, it shows up even in our scores. I can think of a kid who might not be mentally whole, who sat down on a milestones, and we didn't get the whole of that child because of their mental health at that time. So it's something we want to expand to way past a week, to make it just a heartbeat of what we do as a school district. We do a decent job in that space, but there's still much more work to be done.
And we have another one of our junior journalist candidates, Mr. Elijah Daniels, says that a lot of stuff happens at school, but he says it's up to parents and other adults to help students emotionally and give them better guidance so they can be better.
Say it again, Elijah. That is so powerful. He's calling out exactly what I try to say to all of our adults. They are looking at us and leaning on us for guidance in that space. students don't know yet how to navigate life. And here we are, people who have become experts, if you will, at navigating life. And he's absolutely right. Parents, community members, staff members, no matter what your job is, we are adults who are in the place to serve as an example and to lead them through. And I'm hoping that more adults get on board in that space.
I know the Mentors Project had a Tea for Girls
Yes,
recently.
yes.
And I know through Community in Schools, Hope for the Heart of Georgia is
Yes.
getting involved in providing mentors. How important is that for people to be present for these students?
All of those pieces are important. I think students are watching us. They see the adults in their community and around them. And for those adults now to come into the school, to invest in them, to sit down like we are right now and show a genuine interest in them, that goes a long, long way. I'm 52 years old, and I can think of people who sat me down and took an interest in me and sat next to me and read with me. That stuff sticks out in my life, and that has not gone away. So that is of critical importance, and I'm grateful for all of the organizations who give us that human capital to help add value to what we do on a daily basis.
I remember last year, you and I were together at Macedonia Church
Yes,
when
we
they
were,
had
yeah.
a prayer service ahead of the school.
Yes.
So how can the faith community get involved? Is that something that can happen?
Absolutely. First of all, the faith community is showing out in our schools. We have such great partnerships across this district. And one of the main things that faith communities can do is to look around the corner where they sit and to walk into that school and ask a simple question. How can I help? And I can guarantee you every single one will get an answer. Also, faith-based communities, churches, they come with resources. And what I want them to do is to think about the resources that they know that can not only add value to the student, but to the family, and then marry that with the school so that we can create a greater experience for that family, which would lead to a greater experience for that student.
And you also have Built for Bibb's 4ME framework.
Yes.
Can you explain that?
Absolutely. The big idea is that as a result of exposure and experiences, students will become more engaged and enlightened and be able to make a decision about their lives. And it's called the 4ME Learner Outcomes, as you just mentioned. The first one is that I become ME, matched and enrolled in a university, college, or technical system. Or I become meaningfully employed. That is that you take on a career that has a level of trajectory opportunity and could lead to retirement. Or I become motivated to enlist in the military. Not that I just do it because it's the last resort,
Right.
but there are great opportunities in the military. We want them to be motivated as a result of their school experience to make that decision. Or they become molded for entrepreneurship. They learn what it looks like and feels like. And we have so many students who own businesses.
Yes.
What we want to continue to do is to nurture that inside them so that when they graduate, that business can continue and flourish. So the big idea is that every single student, by the time they graduate and well before, feels empowered to make one of those decisions that will add value to the rest of their lives.
Well, we are also going to celebrate as we go to break Bibb County's Teacher of the Year, Teacher Sarah Mallett of Howard Middle School. Congratulations. Thank you for your service. Thank you for staying with us for Central Georgia Focus with Dr. Dan Sims. Now, we were talking about the 4ME program, but it's actually 4Me.
It's 4
isn't
me.
It plays on the ME.
That's right.
With each little segment, but it's 4Me.
The umbrella idea is that students realize that school is not this thing we're imposing on you, but school is for me. It's for my life. It's for my future. We want them to have a sense of ownership in this thing.
And how are you going about getting teachers and staff to have that kind of ownership as well and realize that the importance of their job is to make sure the students have what they need for me?
Yeah, so that's the reason why we're engaging in this whole recruitment for excellence this year. It's a mind shift in our staff to not think so much about this idea that my lesson or my engagement is because I said so or because I planned it, it needs to go like I planned, but I'm actually trying to draw you in and make you say yes and commit to this expectation that I have for you. So that's going to be the main approach, and I think it's a much different way of thinking with a recruiter's mindset as opposed to an authoritarian or an expectation-based mindset. And if you think about the best recruiters have a great attitude, they believe in their product, and they do everything they can to draw the consumer in. And those students are the ones we're trying to draw in to get them to commit to this.
And our junior journalist candidate, Joshua Johnson, offers this advice about teachers.
Yeah.
Just in general, like, we could do better with, like, teachers and staff. We could do better with that, I think. Because at my school, I have pretty good staff.
So that fits in with your Recruitment
Yes.
Excellence program.
Yep. And the whole Recruitment for Excellence program is this idea that we target and we grab students for opportunities. And I'm thinking about stuff like fighting. If there are students who fought last year, we want to recruit them for nonviolence this year. Students who are chronically absent, we want to recruit you for perfect attendance. Students who are headed to college, we want to recruit you to score 1,300 on the SAT.
Use that peer pressure
Yeah,
almost
absolutely.
to share success stories like, I was this last year, but I'm this year.
And I was recruited as a leader. I didn't choose to be a leader 24 years ago when I became one. Someone recruited me to become a leader. So they saw something in me that I didn't see in myself.
And in the couple of years that you've been here, what have you learned about this community?
I have learned that there is a great pride in this community. People love Macon, and people are proud to say that they're from Macon. But what I want to make sure we work on is that we also realize how much we are from here. And it's the combination of this external pride in the city and this internal pride that leads us to love on people that's going to make all the difference. I've also learned that there are some really bright and intelligent people who are here who've gone on to do amazing things, and they brought all that talent back home. It's a great example for our students as well, where many of them will go to college or start their businesses or go to the workforce or go to the military, but want to make Macon their home. They have great examples of people who've done that.
And I know Maya Williams, the daughter of our former executive editor at the Telegraph, Sherry Marshall, she has this Macon It organization where she celebrates people who have made it and come back here.
That is so important. That's nothing like homegrown talent who wants to stay home and make the city a better place.
And I know your child was finishing up school. Have you been able to bring your family down and come down here?
Well, my wife, she's in her 31st year in education.
Oh, wow.
So she comes from time to time, but I'm definitely here. And my child is at Alabama A&M. I have another one at Georgia Military College.
Oh, great. My alma mater from high school.
Okay, great. Yeah, so they're doing their thing, but we're all invested.
And we've got just less than a minute, but what do you think is your biggest accomplishment since you've been here?
I believe we have increased the engagement of the community. I think people are more engaged and want to be more involved in our school system, and we want to continue to build upon that. I'm a people person. I just love people, and it's in my blood, and I want to continue to build on that accomplishment of gaining great relationships with people who really want to invest in the life of not just our district, but this city. And I'm all on board for that.
All right, any final thoughts?
I'm just encouraged by the school year that we have that's already started. And I just want to thank parents and community members in advance for becoming Built for Bibb. And that is that you are a part of what we're doing every single day.
Thank you, Dr. Dan Sims, and thank you for joining us. See you next time.